Greetings and salutations to you all. I want to begin this episode by encouraging you to stay active in our local. And if you're not already active, please become active. The mess we're going through right now to bring order to this local and strengthen its bargaining position to police and enforce the contract and to protect and defend our jobs and human dignity is a prime example of why we need to always remain vigilant. If the local was firing on all cylinders, I'm confident we wouldn't have clerks on standby waiting to be accessed out of their craft while there is work for them here in this facility. And if there's not enough work, outside pressure should be applied to encourage the post office to do what they told us they were going to do from the start when they came to Bussy in the town hall meetings prior to the involuntary reassignments. As those of you remember, they said they were going to build a machine on the mezzanine level for our clerks to work. I believe it still can be done with the right amount of applied pressure on every side. This is what I mean by the local firing on all cylinders. Without question, that will never be achieved under the leadership of Annetta Davison and Alicia Taylor. Now, they still don't seem to understand that members are the highest authority in this local. Not a penny more than what's necessary to cover the regular order of business should be spent until we've had a proper and independent accounting to include the state of the members building located at 7245 Roosevelt Road, a few blocks east of the RPDC. It's your building, and the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act of 1959, Title 5, Section 501A states that it is therefore the duty of each such person, taking into account the special problems and functions of a labor organization, to hold its money and property solely for the benefit of the organization and its members, and to manage, invest, and expend the same in accordance with its Constitution and bylaws. Annetta and her enablers on the executive board still do not seem to understand this basic principle and have therefore violated their duties as declared in subsection A, Title 5 of this Act. They don't have to handle the money to be in violation of this Act. The Act specifically states the officers, agents, shop stewards, and other representatives of a labor organization occupy positions of trust in relation to such organization and its members as a group. And it continues from there to point out their legal duty, as I just mentioned above. It is our job to make sure they perform their duties in accordance with this Act and the local and national constitutions as the governing documents. Even in that, we, the members of Local 7033, get to determine by the introduction and passing of motions in our membership meetings key elements in the Constitution. We can and must restrict the out-of-control and unconstitutional spending of Annetta and her enablers until we finally vote them out. On the 8th of this month, I emailed the secretary a request for the executive board, minus the trustees who are the offenders here, to recover damages on behalf of this local. They have a legal obligation to do so. I'll be brief, but it states in part, in an exercise of my rights under the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act of 1959, and as a member in good standing of the Chicago Bulk Mail Local 7033, I am requesting that the Executive Board sue the trustees for the return of all monies paid to them from the local's fund from January 2022 to the present, including payments, reimbursements for attending conferences and conventions. The trustees have violated their duties as declared in subsection A, Title 5 of the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act of 1959 by failing to report the unauthorized usage of local funds by Annetta Davison in the amount of $3,080 for the purchase of Bulls tickets and failure to perform any of their duties as stipulated in the Constitution, including and especially the performance of audits twice a year. The executive board is obligated to sue for the recovery of damages to the local, failing to perform their duties as trustees for over 2 years while attending conferences and conventions to be educated on their roles at members' expense has caused significant damage to the local, and the local must be made whole. As a concerned member of Local 7033, I expect nothing more than what's required of you as elected officials of this local to sue
for the recovery of damages to this local. Again, this is the text of the request I submitted on the 8th of this month. It's important to note that none of this will be necessary in a properly functioning local. But too many people are holding seats in locals across the country for personal reasons as opposed to what's in the best interest of the organization and its members. And this local has more than its fair share of this ilk. Time to clean house. To protect our jobs, our rights, and provide for our families, this local needs to be performing at peak efficiency. Right now, under the leadership of Annetta Davison, I'd say we are currently functioning in the low 20% range. And that's not intended to be insulting. That's my honest assessment. And that's being kind. Seriously, it's time for an upgrade. So prepare to fight for the representation you are entitled to. Peace and solidarity to you all. And one more thing I want to mention again. We found out at the last meeting that money was collected. Outside of that $3,080, money was collected. Tickets were sold. Netta didn't report any of that. Netta Davidson didn't report, or Alicia Taylor didn't report any of that money. What happened to it? You didn't have authorization to spend the $3,080, and you certainly did not have authorization to spend the money you collected. Where's that money? See you next Wednesday.